7 tips to recession-proof your business from leaders who have been there. And they didn't ask me for my quote. I started this at the end of our last major recession, so maybe I didn't
Mhm.
qualify. But there's no denying the fact that you look to the left, you look to the right, everything is going up in price. We're seeing so many issues and factors that contribute to a recession, and it's interesting to have historical context about like recessions and what caused them and how long they were and what happens when you're in there. But it's another when you're kind of inching your way into one. And so
Yeah.
who knows if we will hit that or not, but the important thing is to find wisdom of how to prepare. And so I think this is what this article's aim is to do, is to help us all prepare from a small business standpoint. So Summer, were there any that stood out to you that you want to chat about, or any context you want to give?
I think, first and foremost, for any business that's been through, kind of the ups and downs of the pandemic, I think there's a different type of awareness of needing to be prepared for the unexpected. And when I read this article, that was really the biggest takeaway is that, you no longer can be unprepared. And some of the notables from this article are first that nearly all jobs that were lost in the pandemic have been recovered, but the forecasters of the economy and their kind of confidence level, which is a measure of what direction we think we're going in, that confidence level of the forecasters was anticipating a downturn in the next year. It was only 28% in April, but now that confidence level is 44% at present day that there's an expected downturn. So a real drastic change in not a great direction, but I think just for the reason we need to be paying attention to these tips and thinking about how do they apply to my business if I'm a small business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. And thinking about, well, we'll talk about some of the tips and probably share some stories around them. But even just a quick inventory of, am I in a market that is recession proof? And if not, what are some unique things that I need to do to pivot? I think you know, like food delivery apps were kind of a blessing for brick and mortar restaurants during COVID because it helped keep workers working and it helped keep food going to patrons. And I think the article even said, like use COVID as a case study, but put on your innovation hat if you believe that your business industry is not recession proof.
You said it perfect because actually, number 7 on this list, one of the tips is to stay entrepreneurial. So it's that idea of continuing to find new ways to provide value despite the present day environment. So, I like to say, like, just don't get stale in this environment and an expected downturn. I think that needs to be like right front and center.
Yeah, and to that point, listen to the voices in the room. It is likely that people who are servicing your customers directly have really great ideas, and so just because they may not fall highest in your hierarchy, so to speak, doesn't mean that their ideas won't help you weather this storm. So I think be open and listen to your team. Another one that I like is, which is an ironic one. Don't rush layoffs. Staffing back up will not be easy. That's usually what people think is the best way to get out of financial circumstances. But the truth is, you need manpower, woman power to drive results in your business. And so
Mhm.
if you aim to be lean, I will say this: if you aim to be lean, find a outsourcing agency or consultants that can help you carry the load, because your team is less effective when they have to lose people and still perform. Um,
Mhm.
so so yeah, don't rush layoffs. That's a big one.
I think that's a bigger one than I initially thought of. I mean, it is, I think part of it is it makes a lot of sense. But when you think about the impact of those that are left behind to do the work, and especially just last week on an episode, we were talking about, creating great work environments and how that's so important. It has a real negative effect in that regard. So I think that's a great one. And one of the tips that really stood out to me, not just now as we're looking at strategies to recession proof your business, but I felt like it was just a great tip in general at any point in time, was using the pandemic as a case study and prioritizing profitability over growth. Right. So I feel like companies are so fast to grow, and that's one measure of success. But I think taking a look at the actual numbers, like the P&L, and making decisions that way as opposed to just growing and growing, that's a great tip for any economic condition.
Yeah, yeah. One of the metrics I keep in my head is our and I get it from a mentor from years ago, is revenue per employee. So if you just take the cross sample of all of your employees and say, what is the average revenue per individual on your team? And you want to find ways to increase that. Um, because growth is great, but ultimately you have to feed the beast. And when you grow to a level where projects are declining or aren't trickling in as much as they used to, or clients have to scale back, you still have to maintain the systems and people that you are operating with. And so I like that idea of seeking profitability, prioritizing profitability over growth. It's an underutilized principle that I think people should people should think about.
Let's chat just real briefly about um, maintaining perspective. So it's really easy in these trying economic environments to make decisions quickly and maybe even sometimes lose focus on, that long-term plan. How would you say keeping your focus on like the long-term goal has helped you weather those storms?
It's helped a lot because when I think about our business, I I'll also go back to a mentor who said that you should be thinking in decades. And so realizing that there are good economic cycles, bad economic cycles, but if you believe in your business, you should be thinking in decades as opposed to days, weeks, months, or even years. And I truly believe that we meet we meet a need that a lot of companies have. We are a team that a lot of people would love to join, and we're doing our work and services for the right reasons. And so, with those keys in mind, I feel like there's always a reason to be excited, and there's always a reason to look forward and not think about bad times or anything like that. I remember the first time we ever lost like a sustaining client. This was years ago, and I thought that the world was going to end. But you know what happens? You go out and you win more business and you continue to grow. And so you just have to always be thinking about how do you keep maintaining relevancy? How do you continue to inspire your team and And in order to inspire a team, you have to be inspired first. So finding new ways to be inspired, even if it's to do the same thing, but finding new reasons to want to do the same thing, which is take care of HR for small businesses and startups all across the US. And I think as a person of faith, I just also have that confidence as well. But ultimately, it boils down to, you know, taking advantage of that big picture of knowing like, hey, if you believe that this is a good product fit, there's a good market fit, you're supposed to succeed as long as you do your part. Have the right team members in place, put them in the position to win, and just continue to find little things that could distract you from your goal and get rid of those things.